Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Equalization meeting. Today is Tuesday, April 28th, 2026. Copy of the Nebraska Open Meeting Act is located on the north wall of the boardroom. Anyone wishing to speak either during the open public comment or on an agenda item, if you'd please sign in with the county clerk, we'd appreciate it. And you'll be allowed to talk. If you haven't already, please silence your cell phones so they don't go off during the meeting. In attendance today, we have all 5 commissioners, our county administrator, our county clerk operating or executing the meeting for us is Tabby Bellucci, and we've got our county assessor here and our deputy county treasurer. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't remember, Tabby, if I said, but we started right at 3 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, on to the agenda. First item is the consent agenda. We have 3 items. Unless any of the commissioners would like to see one of those moved, take a motion to approve as published. Motion to approve.
Second. People are here to speak on the one of the consent items. People have signed in.
Oh, is it the consent item?
Public comments.
Or is it
5.2?
is it 6?
Yeah. So can we alter the motion and move to remove 5.2 to the regular agenda and a move to approve the consent agenda minus 5.2?
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Burmeister on an amended motion to move 5.2 and approve the 2 others. A second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussions? Please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay, on the regular agenda, the first item is 5.2, tax corrections 17785 through 17910 and 17914 through 17916. Dan Pittman, Sarpy County Assessor.
This is quite a number of tax corrections, and everything under 6.1 is homestead exemptions that were changed after an audit by the Nebraska Department of Revenue.
Questions for Dan? Comments?
So they all look like their taxes are now being assessed that weren't originally. Is that accurate?
That's kind of an echo in here. Can you say it again?
Yeah. Hey, Jose, could you turn up the volume, please?
So these are all added tax, correct? These,
Added taxes, yes.
so what was the change that took place? Was it something that we missed at the county, or is it something that was missed at
No, not the
state level?
county. Once we send the paperwork on to the state, because it's a state program, the homestead exemption, the Department of Revenue, the Nebraska Department of Revenue will contact the IRS and get income information on the IRS filings. And then if it's contrary to what was put on the form for the homestead exemption, then they come back on the taxpayer and make a correction.
So is there anything that we can really do at this as a county board?
I would refer that to the county attorney.
Thank you, Dan.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. At this point, it has come back to the county for basically administrative action to make the corrections. The determination of percentage is on the state. The taxpayers should have received a form. We did get a copy of a template of that goes out to them, informing them of the change to their percentage. And they do have an opportunity to protest or appeal that to the state. I believe, Dan, did you received some new information from the state? It's my understanding the state is potentially still working with some of these taxpayers, but at this point, the notices we've received from them are considered their final determinations on matters.
And how far can they go? How far can the state go back? Are these on years prior?
3 years, yes.
3 years is what they can go back? Okay.
Yep.
So should this be no action on our part until they have it worked out?
It's not on all of them. It's just a handful. I don't have the names of the people that they were working with still. I don't also know if those corrections are actually going to change. I would not advise against tabling it until things are sorted out, but Dan may have a different opinion on that.
Okay.
Since these notices were mailed out, we've heard from the Department of Revenue. They are changing their minds on some of them, evidently, and they said they'll notify us when that happens, and it'll go back on the agenda for a correction. Right now, the process, though, is to protest it through the Department of Revenue, not through the county. And
So the ones that you said that the state is looking at, how did they get back involved? Are they, did anybody? I'm trying to ask that question. Did the taxpayers then contact the state? Or is the state now just looking at all of them or just a portion of them?
No, I believe it's just the ones that contact the state and ask questions as to why there's been a change in their taxable status. I see it much like something that gets on the agenda from the county assessor, asking the board to act on it, and then new information comes in, and the county assessor has a new recommendation. Well, there's a chance we may get some new recommendations from the state based upon what they get from taxpayers.
Okay. All right. So Annie, can you come back up? Because I think I'm just going to summarize this as best I can. It sounds like we as the Board of Equalization really, this is a state-run program,
Correct.
the homestead exemption. There's the filings, there's paperwork, there's based on income, there's layers of things that you have to do for the homestead exemption. Now, all of that paperwork was turned in to the state, and now the state is saying, no, based on what we're seeing, we're going to adjust because they've checked with the IRS, they checked income levels. So it's really a matter of if a taxpayer is not happy with what they're getting not assessed, but what is happening here, you probably need to talk to the state of Nebraska, the Department of Revenue first, because we cannot do anything, as this board cannot do anything. And I don't know if Commissioner Kelly's going to open this up for public comment, because we have taxpayers here that might want to address it. I think we let them speak, but I think the only thing that we can do here is tell you that you're going to have to protest it with the Nebraska Department of Revenue.
Correct. The county portion of it is determining whether or not the basics of a homestead exemption are met. The percentage amount is what the state determines, and that's what's at issue today.
Okay.
So just for clarification, before I invite the public up that may want to comment, we can't react to their comments, correct? We just listen, or can we interchange?
This is a published agenda item, so that means discussion can occur. If there are additional questions to be answered, I'm available for those at any point.
Okay,
So I'm
thank
going
you.
to ask a very rhetorical question because I know the answer. Why is this even on our agenda?
Because currently the statute requires that any action to change the amount of taxes on the tax roll has to be approved by the county board, even though it was directed by the state. We have done the amendments in the past to at the legislative level to change it so that Turk decisions can go automatically through. This is something else that we could potentially suggest legislative change
Maybe
on.
that's something we need to mark for sure for our next year
Sure.
legislation. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
I guess I would simply like to apologize for anybody that's come here to protest this, because it is on our agenda when it seems that it is a state matter, and I apologize that there isn't a whole lot we as a board can do in this situation.
Okay, would anybody like to come forward and address the board? Well, please come forward and state your name and address for the record, I guess.
Hi, yeah, I'm Bill Moore. My full name is James William Moore, and I go by Bill. I'm 1915 Southview Drive here in Papillion. I've been a resident since 1980. Owned 3 homes, paid my taxes. As you can tell, I'm probably at the point where I'm qualified for homestead exemption. My concern is that last December, I got a letter from the state notifying me that 2 of my exemptions for 2022 and 2023 were denied and were going to be revised. And then I got a letter that said it was revised from 80% to 60%, which is like $1,200, something like that. I was given 60 days to not protest, but to, try to figure out why this was. What I understood is that this was based upon a change in my reported income, but I never figured out and was never told what that change was. I went back to my personal filings, which I keep a record of. I went into the IRS database and pulled up their copy of that, which complied, which was similar to my own, records. And I asked the state on multiple occasions, can you please tell me what this additional revenue is that I'm supposed to have? Because, gee, I'd like to have it. I don't know where, what it was based on. So, if I have to pay the amount, I'm prepared to pay the amount, but I just wanted to let the board know that there's some pieces of this puzzle that are missing, and it would be nice to know why my income was changed and what they based that on. I have no idea, and I've had multiple emails, phone calls, and I've sent complete copies of my 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024 tax returns for them to review. So it would be nice to know that. So while the board obviously can't do anything to adjust it, at least I'd let you know that there's some pieces missing here I'd like to see addressed.
You said you had emails and stuff with the state.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And is anybody giving you?
Well, yeah, I heard back from them, but I never heard as to what the reason or what numbers or what source of that supposed additional income was.
Right. Did you talk to anybody from the state?
Yeah, well, yes, and what's her name? There was a person I talked to on the phone.
Okay.
Phoned a couple of times. Sorry, I don't recall the name, though.
That's fine. I'm just trying to understand how much you've already gone through with the state and what they're giving back to you as far
I
as.
sent them within the 60-day window, I sent them a registered return mail receipt with all of those tax forms pulled out off of the IRS website, which complied with what I had officially filed in my own paperwork. So that's where it's at this point.
Okay.
Just as a point of comment, it may not hurt to call your state senator. And
Okay.
because that department would be directly under the governor's, and that would be something that they may be able to help out with. At
Okay.
least they need to know that they're not being responsive as they should.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming before us. It's one of those frustrating situations for us as well, that we don't have any authority to do anything.
Understood.
And so I think you're doing what you need to do. Commissioner Warren had a good suggestion.
Well, I
We
wanted to
wish we
see what the board's all about anyway.
We wish we could do more.
Okay, would anyone else like to come? Yeah, please come forward. We'll take ladies first.
Okay,
Could you pull that? There you go. Thank you.
on this, December 9th,
Okay, you
I got
say
it.
your name and,
okay, my name, Donna Roten, W-R-O-T-E-N,
okay.
812 Driftwood Drive, Papillion, just down the street by the cemetery. December 9th, I got a letter stating that my homestead exemption was incorrect and it needed to be reviewed. I called Sarpy County. Because that's the 1 year out of every year that I've applied for homestead exemption, that I have actually taken the forms to the Sarpy County Assessor's Office and had them fill them out for me. I had been through some chemo, some radiation, some medical issues, and I had questions that just going over the phone was not getting answers to, trying to figure out how in the world I was getting refunds from the federal government on my IRS forms, and where those numbers all went on the homestead thing. So I took it down there, the lady filled it out, sent everything in. I know we sent everything that was required. I'm sure she connected all the dots and got everything in there. So I get the letter and it's like, I don't know what's going on. I called Sarpy County, they gave me Valerie's number in Lincoln. I called and talked to Valerie in January. Probably 8th or 9th of January, because it was like you have 30 days to do something. And so I talked to her, and she says, well, what we're missing is your federal income tax forms. I was like, really? I file Nebraska taxes. They have a copy. You know, the Department of Revenue should already have that, but I sent one. Then I get back this lovely letter, congratulations, your homestead exemption has been reviewed, and instead of 100% exemption, you now have a 0% exemption. And wait for Sarpy County to tell you how much you're going to owe for this tax year. We're talking 2022 taxes. 2021, I did a whole bunch of other things. Goodness knows, I paid the house off either 2019 or 2020, so that was the first few years I was actually going to be paying fully on my own and not through Wells Fargo, okay? And so, like I said, I had questions. So I talked to Valerie, sent everything to her, get the letter back, and I called back again, and it's like, then I get the letter from Sarpy County saying I owe $4,374 and change for 2022, and it's like, I only owe $4,000 for 2025. How could my house be worth more in 2022 than it was in 2025? It didn't make sense. So I call again, and I get Valerie's phone number again, call Valerie again. I've talked to Valerie twice now. Finally, she gives me you signed the paperwork. It's your problem. It's like, really? I trust somebody else to answer my questions. I take advice. It's the only year I've ever done it. It's probably the only year I will ever allow anybody else to touch the forms, because I can't trust anybody now, because it was done wrong. I finally last night figured out where the error was. Instead of line 5, or instead of line 6 subtraction, they did line 5. I'm a media specialist. You don't make those kind of mistakes. We teach following directions. To me, that was critical error right there, that we have the wrong line number on the form. It wasn't my federal form at all that was missing. It was following line by line and your customer's service that was the problem, and it happened in Sarpy County. And sadly enough, you know, that's why I can't trust the assessor's office now, because now all of a sudden I've got a notice, $4,734.44 is what I owe within 30 days, according to Sarpy County. I just paid $2,000 for taxes for the first half of 2025. I'm going to pay another $2,000 in July for the second half. I have never missed a house payment. I have never missed a tax payment. I just gave the federal government a check for $2,250, and now Sarpy County wants me to pay $4,374 within 30 days. Social Security is $3,100 a month. My teacher retirement pay is $400 and something. I get $488 for survivor benefit, 20 years in the Air Force, and that's it. You know? I wasn't in the Air Force, my husband was, he's dead. So it's all my responsibility now. But it really is frustrating that with all of these things, the one time you trust somebody to fill out the form for you, it's wrong, and somehow now it is all my fault. There's no consideration, there's no, well, you know, I can accept the fact that I might need to pay this, but to have to pay an extra $4,300 on top of the $4,000 I've just given, the state for property tax and the federal government, and another 160 for Nebraska taxes, all at once, that's a lot to expect anybody to do. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
And I thank you for the comments. I'm going to give you a speech, or to everybody here, a speech I've given multiple times. County government is the most dysfunctional form of government ever invented by a dysfunctional unicameral. These should not even be on our agenda. These are state issues. And I wish there was something that I could do to help, but even the assessor's office, we don't run it. It's run by a separate elected official, even as the sheriff's office, the county engineer. You know, I can go right down the list. There are multiple offices. We run budgets. I wish there was things that we could help with, and I'm sorry that you even had to be here today.
Okay, sir. Sir? Yeah.
My name is Mike Rice, 1512 Bellevue Boulevard North in Bellevue, Nebraska. I think I've kind of figured out what's going on. My dispute is with the IRS because I misfilled out a form in 2023. And they charged me a fine for it, and as a result, also the Homestead Act reassessed my eligibility, and they put me from 100% to 80%. So I guess I just need to know who to show my paperwork to prove that I'm in the process of getting an IRS. I filed already the 1040X in 2024, and so it's been, you know, close to 2 years now. I'm waiting for all this to be rectified because I misfiled where the dependents were. And I said someone else was claiming us as dependents, and I just checked the box wrong. I talked to the IRS about it, and they said, you got to go through this process. But in the meantime, I'm being reassessed by my Homestead Act too. So I guess if you just want to let me know a good place to refer for this information, that'd be nice.
Okay,
Do you know that answer, Annie?
I mean, the Department of Revenue should be able to provide you with this information. If they're not doing so,
Well, it's a process that's still going on.
can I will talk to you,
Okay.
get some information, see if I can help.
All right, thank you.
okay, would anybody else like to testify? Please come forward. After you, ma'am, how many other people are left after this lady? One more? Yeah, could you just come out and move up to the front then, please, and we'll be ready for you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Betty Goff, and I received this letter, went back to 2022, about something about my husband didn't file his tax. I don't know what he did, what it's about. He's deceased, so I don't know what's going on. They said I got homestead exempt for me since he's deceased. And they said I owe $1,000. I can't hardly see this paper that good. I just had surgery on my eyes, so I can't see how I'm responsible for something he made a mistake for, which I didn't know nothing about it. I don't file taxes. I'm on Social Security disability. I was at the time. So.
Okay.
So how do I go about for this $1,000 and something when I get homestead exempt?
Well, I can't answer that specifically, but let's hear the testimony from the last person, and then I have an idea to try to track down answers for everybody that came here and those that didn't as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jack Lovestad. I live at 7106 Wood River Drive in Bellevue, and I'm one from 2022. I'm not protesting what the IRS did. My question is the $1,000 and some odd dollars they say that it's dropped me on from 100 to 80%. Several years ago, I only got like 90% on it, but I didn't pay the full amount of the 8 or 9 different places where the tax dollars go to. It only took went to 2 of them. So what I thought I was going to have to pay was about a third of it. I'm just curious, that $1,000, is that going to be the same way, the 8 or 9 that are on there, some of them get money out of that, or they all get some? Anybody have that answer to that question? Good question.
It is a good question.
Try it.
Well,
I would think our county assessor should be able to answer that, because we're all on our tax statements, just like you have. There's all these taxing
1%
entities.
goes here, 2% goes there.
Yeah. And obviously, you would be in the city of Bellevue.
Yeah.
And then you have Sarpy County, and then there's
Omaha.
all the other, OPS. You're like me, you're in kind of the same area. So with that, I would think whatever that is, it's probably going to go back to us, the percentage is back. I don't know, but that's the assessor, because that's where all of that is coming from, because he sets the value of your assessed value.
Right.
And then obviously all these government agencies or boards, like this board, we set the levy for Sarpy County. You have City of Bellevue, everyone's setting their levy, and then it all comes out to here's how much. So did you say you went from 100 to 90 or
100 to 80% for 2022.
So that 20%, because there was no tax
Right.
initially. So 20% of that tax that was owed is going to go back, and it's going to be adjusted, or it's going to be allocated based on those levies.
It's the 8 or 9 places that get part of that money.
Yeah.
When that happened several years ago, they didn't all get it. Some of them got none, which surprised me. I mean, I didn't complain. I didn't have to pay as much, but I'm just curious, will that happen again?
And the only other thing I can say to that, because I know enough about the homestead exemption program, but I don't know all the details. And this is what's frustrating, because what I'm hearing is whoever Valerie, if she has a last name, she should be answering all these questions and giving all of you, information on what it is. I mean, bottom line, they made a determination that they're going to adjust the percentage of, from 100% to 60, 80, whatever. And then what that does is that causes then for the county assessor to come back and say, okay, here's the taxes now based on the new information. And so then all of that, but we have no privy to that information. It's coming from the state, and it is their state program, and we get that, and we're an extension of the state. We understand all that, but the only thing I can say is the state needs to be responsive to what you're asking them, and if you're not getting those, and I would tell everybody in this audience that anything you do with the state, put it in writing. Put it in writing so you have a paper trail, and then you need to ask for a supervisor from this Valerie and go above her. And the other comment was the state senators, who have plenty of them, and John Arch is one, and who are some of the other ones from the area?
Rick Holdcroft.
Holcroft, Anderson. Sanders. Get a hold of one of those state senators. They will respond to you, or their staff should be responding to you, and ask for help in the situation of what's going on. Just explain it. And then the one person that spoke that was having an issue with the IRS and trying to get that cleared up, they should be able to give you, I don't know, to me, to be fair, they should be able to give you some kind of extension, but I don't know. I don't know all their rules, and I apologize for that.
The error was actually my fault. I didn't report some income that
I don't know where it went to. And so I haven't talked to nobody in Lincoln because air's on my side. Talking to them ain't gonna do any good because I made more money, so that reduced it. My just question is, should I stop at the assessor's office and ask them, wait for them to send me a bill that says instead of 1,000, you owe 650 or 550 or?
I think I would start with our assessor
Okay.
and then work with the state. You're going to probably back to the state.
Works for me.
Okay.
Thank you much. Have a good evening.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right, thank you.
Does anybody else want to address the board? Yeah, come on forward.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand earlier. I'm Nicole Borkwin. I'm here on behalf of my mom, Margaret Subcheck. She lives at 5114 Gertrude Street. And I just have a few questions, and they're probably assessor questions, but I was wondering, will we get a formal statement for the amount that they want to collect? And does the increase include any like fines or fees or penalties? Because the letter we got is very vague, like there's just not a lot there. And then the third question is there's no due date. There's no like payment structure is going to be divided. Is it going to be, obviously everybody who's getting this adjustment is somebody that's already on a fixed income. There's a reason that they applied and were liable for this in the first place. And so I think any flexibility the assessor could offer would be appreciated by all.
Those are all great questions. I don't have the answers to them, but we'll find somebody before you leave that will be able to help you. Anybody else? Okay, so very frustrating, this whole process, and apologize on behalf of the board that you guys have to endure these kind of hardships. Government's supposed to be serving your needs, not making your life more difficult. However, before you leave, I would ask somebody from the county attorney's office to meet you all out in the hallway to get your names and your phone numbers and see if we can run to ground some of these things. We're not lawyers. Well, most of us aren't. One of us is. And so I can't give you legal advice on your best approach here, but if we put you in touch with our county attorney, at least they should be able to point you in the right direction and get you the help that you need. And if you can't get that help, every one of us has our own personal cell phone or telephone numbers on the county website. You can call us directly, and we can certainly link you up to your state senator. The good thing is there's only 5 of them in our county, so we know how to track them down, and we'll help you do that. And from my experience with our state senators, they're all very, very responsive, and they have staffs that can hopefully run all your questions to ground in a timely manner, because time is important, because the due dates have already been established, and there's a lot of uncertainty. So if you would just gather outside the double doors here, and we'll see what we can do to get you taken care of. So thank you for coming. So, John or Kayla, I mean, are we supposed to approve these corrections, or, I mean, what's the request here?
And while you're answering that question, if we approve them because we're required statutorily to, that doesn't affect anything that the state might do to change them, right?
That's correct. There's really 2 avenues you could take, and I'm not sure if the assessor has one that he would prefer. You could either table these for action next week or the week after, or you could approve them knowing that if the state makes further adjustments, they will come back through the same process.
So if I understood this correctly, when are their taxes, these taxes due that they've all been assessed?
I do not know when they would be due.
Say the question again?
When are the people that lost their exemptions have now had a tax increase? When are those taxes due?
30 days from the date that
The board approves them? Okay, then we'll table it for 30 days? Is that enough?
I'll second it.
So I don't know what meeting that would be.
Okay. You know, we had a discussion, Annie's out in the hall right now, but there's some people waiting actually to pay the taxes, because we talked about this as a strategy, like tabling them all and then getting some answers and coming back in a couple of weeks. There are people that already say, yeah, I owe it, and wanting to get the taxes paid. Do you have any checks in the office now that you're holding for people?
Corrections, not that I'm aware of at the moment, but that
Okay.
doesn't mean they're not on their way. Or
Okay. So I just don't want to see these things bump into each other.
So, Dan, if we table it, they can't pay their taxes? Is that what you're saying?
We're waiting for your action, your approval, so we can go on to the next step, and that would be collections.
Why don't we possibly just table it 1 week, okay? And then get the people that are having the problems, because a lot of people, that's a long list.
Okay.
And a lot of those people are not challenging it, so they owe it and they want to pay it. So maybe we table it, find out which ones are the ones we're dealing with, and maybe we can take those out in a week. If there's 10 people that we're talking about that came here, can we take those 10 out in a week from now?
Pending what? What are you thinking is going to change?
Well, I don't know. We're trying to get some answers from the state and whoever to help them. I don't know if things are going to change for these 10, but.
Well, I'd rather give the ones that want more time.
Yeah.
So.
Right. That's what I'm
So
trying
we
to
could
say.
do probably the opposite, which would be to table them all 30 days or 60 days. And then you let us know which ones are in your office waiting to be paid. And then we'll put those on the agenda next week and approve them next week.
Hey,
That way we give those other people a longer period
so how
of
about
time.
May 12th? May 12th, and then you can come back to us and say, hey, these are legit, they're going to pay, and we can go ahead and approve those as we work through the rest of the ones that are still in dispute, so to speak. Would that work with you?
Well, from what I know from talking to the state and our people talking to the state, they're in the process now of talking to taxpayers who are contacting them, and they have some that they're going to refer back to us and say, hey, we've sorted this out.
Okay.
So this needs to go back before your board. They wanted us to pull these things off the agenda, but we can't. So we're going to hear from them. So you'll be getting those. In my mind, it just seems if you approve them all, whatever they work out with the state will still be coming back. You'll be them, and like if there's 5 others waiting, I think, to come back before you. And then keep in mind too, the state, it's not a Sarpy County thing. They're doing this with all 93 counties. They're handling these appeals, and it doesn't happen real fast, so.
But you have no ability to do payment plans or extend deadlines or anything like that, right? So, I mean, part of the problem is making them pay in 30 days. Most of these people are on a fixed income. That's problematic to me, and that's the only authority we have is to not approve it, so.
I like the idea of tabling it till May 26th. That would be 4 weeks.
Okay.
There's no meeting May 26th. It's after the holiday.
Well, first meeting in June.
June 2nd.
June 2nd.
June 2nd. Okay, is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table this item until June 2nd, 2026.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Klug and a second by Commissioner Mixon to table item 5.2 tax corrections until June 2nd. Any further discussion?
Just in way of discussion, I don't know why we just can't approve it. It's not our error. There's nothing we can do to change it. We're just kicking it down the road. And my concern is for people that want to pay, we're going to start throwing them off. To me, it would be simpler just to approve it and then put it in the state's court. Because if there were 10 people here today, I'll guarantee you there's 110 more out there in the county that have the same issue. So.
I guess I don't understand what would preclude them from paying them if they wanted to pay them.
And I think to Angie's point, if we could just have them added to the agenda to say that we approve it, then.
Not going to be done in 30 days.
I don't believe the payment step can take place until this step takes place. Board approves it, now it goes into the county record as owed, and they can pay based upon what's been approved as being owed. Right now, what we're reporting to you as to what dollar amounts it'll be. So once it's approved, it'll roll over to the treasurer. The treasurer sees that if this person comes to the counter, this is the amount of money they're supposed to be collecting from them.
Who determines the payment schedule?
It's determined by statute. They have 30 days to pay, again, from when it happens.
Yeah, okay, so.
From when we approve it, right?
Yeah,
I believe it's when you approve it, not when the, like Turk or anybody like that would approve it, but that would be a question for legal.
again, just from what I heard in this small sampling, is 30 days could be problematic for a lot of people that weren't expecting to pay an additional tax bill on another one that's due for this year's taxes in July. So I think a little bit of a delay would certainly aid our citizens, help them out, at least some of them, and if we can help some of them, can't help them all, but I think that's the right thing to do here, so get a little more clarity.
Just one thing to keep in mind, if you delay it, that 30-day clock would then on these ones start in June, which would end in July, right when they're getting ready to pay their second half of the current year.
So second half are due when, first of July?
July 31st.
July 31st, okay.
So they'd be paying more in July than what they would, so.
So are you telling me we should delay it 60 days then?
I'm not going to recommend that. But if you do it now, that would give them
No, I get it.
more spread out over a longer period of time than one big chunk at one time.
Well, I've got a feeling some people on fixed income, you can spread it out all you want, but we're not going to be able to spread it out enough.
I don't disagree with that.
Well, we have a motion already on the table for June 2nd. So let's vote on that and we'll see what happens.
Motion passed.
Okay, item 6.1 is tax corrections 17991 through 17913. Dan.
These aren't homesteads. These are clerical errors and that we've corrected. Do you have any questions on these?
Questions for Dan? These are just strictly clerical errors.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Burmeister. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay, 6.2, last item is corrections 17917 through 17928. Any questions for Dan on these? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Burmeister. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay, there's no need for an executive session. All agenda items have been addressed as published. Board of Equalization is adjourned. We'll reset for the Board of Commissioners. Okay, welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is April 28th, 2026. It's 3:42 p.m. Nebraska Open Meeting Act rules are on the north wall. Anybody can come forward at on any agenda item and address the board if so desired. We have all 5 commissioners, our administrator and clerk present. Commissioners, is anybody from the public want to talk? Okay, then I'll let the commissioners talk. Commissioner Mixon.
No comment.
Jim?
No, thanks.
No comment, thank you.
Just 2 public thank yous to Katie Glover, Communications Manager, and Mary Arco, our Deputy CIO. They've been working hard since October to update our website, and that launched this afternoon. It looks great.
Oh, awesome. Excited. Did you put a youthful looking photo of all the board members on it?
Yes.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Okay, let's get right into the presentations. We're going to have the pleasure today of hearing from our Sarpy County Election Commissioner, David Jones, who's going to give us an update on what's cooking down in the Election Commission. David, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Excuse me. Chairman Kelly, let me get this adjusted here. The entire board, Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Moore, as well as Administrative Specialist Bellucci. Thank you for the opportunity to share and just update you on the status of elections in Sarpy County.
Can you turn it up a little bit, Jose? Can you guys
I
hear
could
okay
speak
in the
louder
back?
if that would help.
Okay. Maybe it's just me.
Okay. Here we go. Here's our agenda. I will move through this fairly rapidly, but we'll open it up for questions at the end. We're going to cover our staff, some key highlights, some legislative updates, specific stats, some headwinds facing our team, as well as, excuse me, some important dates that we want to put on everybody's calendar, and in the end, we'll answer some questions. During my 9 months in this position and on the cusp of my first primary election, I'm learning daily of the gravity of this role, that while I have a great deal to learn, there are several things that I'm definitely certain of. I have inherited an extremely talented and dedicated, hardworking professional staff, and I thank my predecessor for that. You can see the breadth of experience in our office with the Senior Elections Coordinator, Angie, acting as our organizational anchor for the office, as well as our Chief Deputy, Michelle, who more appropriately would be titled Chief Integrator, turning priorities into execution and she's a detailed-oriented leader who keeps the team aligned and on track. We've got Ann and Sarah, who actually were previously temporary workers in our office, and have rapidly become integral to the office, combining both high-level execution with an exceptional level of professionalism, work ethic that is second to none. Ann supervises now 17 temp workers, handles registrations of over 131,000 Sarpy County registered voters, including overseas folks. Our elections resource specialist, Sarah, trains and leads just shy of 800 poll workers. And rounding out the office is our reliable backbone, excuse me, of daily operations. That's Angela, who approaches tasks with positivity, professionalism, and precision. Starting in March, our office quadrupled to the tune of, like I mentioned, about 18 temp workers. And I thank Katie Glover and Vicki and our HR staff for helping get us set up with all those temps that will work now through the primary, actually through the end of May, take a little break, come back for petitions, and then come back again for 2 months for the general election. They have experience ranging from just 6 of them are brand new. We have 4 that have been through 2 election cycles, 4 that have been through 3 election cycles, and 1, Ruth, through 4 cycles, and most notably, Dennis has been working with our office since 2006 and has gone through 12 election cycles. We certainly don't take their service and experience for granted, and we are doing everything in our power to create an environment where they want to come back. One of the things that I have done to facilitate that is to bump their pay up just a bit from the minimum wage of $15 an hour to $15.50. It's not much, but understanding the culture is about leadership and relationships. Additionally, we have increased poll worker salary by 50 cents above the minimum wage, and district and precinct inspectors to $17, which aligns very well with our sisters up at Douglas County. Some lessons learned. Some lessons learned from the early voting process in the time that I've been here for the 9 months with respect to getting out our final numbers seems to be something that I've taken and our office has taken under watch to improve. It's also communicating to the community. And on the last note, we were very fortunate to receive a new counting machine from the Secretary of State to help with the timing of getting those numbers out. One of the things I've been extremely thankful to my chief deputy for is setting up key meetings within the first couple of weeks of my assignment with county department heads, and local leaders, all of which have led to additional meetings, as you can see there, within the community. And really, one of the things I've learned in my time in the military is, relationships build trust, and trust builds confidence. And so that's where the importance of these meetings come from. Some of the meetings earlier included key meetings with law enforcement folks, everything from Sheriff London and his Chief Deputy Betzworth to the folks that we work with more regularly, Captain Geiger, Deputy Nathan, and a special shout out to the facilities folks there under the leadership of Mark Elbert. Quite frankly, second to none. The support we receive from facilities, we literally could not do what we do. I almost kind of liken it to playing Tetris with moving equipment and things in the office with the space that we have. And those facilities folks have just been second to none. In our current political elections environment, one of my main goals is to keep the temperature in our office, and to the extent that we can within the county, as low as possible, and to minimize stressful and negative events. To the extent that I can pull from my Air Force flight safety experience, we used to have a program called ORM, Operational Risk Management. And essentially what that means is weighing the risk. You can't completely eliminate them, or you would never fly. And we can't eliminate the risks involved in our environment. But one of the things I know is, we hope negative or unfortunate things aren't going to happen, but we know hope is not a strategy. So some of the things, small enhancements that I and my office have made to keep the temperature down included small things like increasing the speed upon which the door to our office closes. I was told that sometimes folks unknowingly would kind of try to follow people into the office, and also prevents folks that may not be so innocent from doing the same. I noticed that we did not have any holes in our glass talking to the public, and the volume of people talking was getting higher. And so with that, we made a small adjustment. Again, Mark Elbert's folks there, he, within days or I guess a couple of weeks, was able to facilitate getting new glass there and getting a hole there. And the idea is keeping the volume down so that, well, what did you say? And heaven forbid we're giving them unfortunate news, you just want to be able to communicate back and forth with as clear as possible. A key thing as it relates to equipment was getting our counting machines on separate circuits in our counting room. I know we had an electrical incident here in the building 1102 a couple of months back, and that prompted us to really take a look at, well, what would happen, if that were to happen, unfortunately, on Election Day. Additionally, we are hoping for the expansion of the doors on the west side of the building to allow for the pallets to come through, but I understand that that has been tabled at least until such time as the county plan can be revisited. So we understand that that's been moved off. Moving through this, our long-term plan, should something happen, whether it be electrics or otherwise, that would prevent us from being able to do our mission on Election Day, we have been fortunate enough through, I guess, the board and Ms. Moore to utilize the East Conference Room right downstairs from us to utilize operations should we need to do that in the case of an unfortunate event. Moving right along, just wrapping up here, we've had some legislative updates. Bill 1075, which is titled our Elections Cleanup Bill. You can see some of the key points from there, but it's championed by the Secretary of State and working with the county elected officials. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go down there and participate in part of the signing. Digging in the final slides of election operations, one thing that is not widely known is, in addition to regular elections, primary, special elections, our office also participates and runs what we call sanitary improvement district elections. You can see the numbers there. We have we do anywhere between 70 to 90 SID elections per year. And I even discovered just today, again, as I'm still getting my feet underneath me here, that in addition, even though we have the general coming up, and prior to that we have petitions, shortly following that would be sanitary improvement district elections, and our senior elections coordinator, Angie Nelson, handles that flawlessly. As it pertains to coming up here and what we're in almost 2 weeks now into early voting, you'll notice that, some highlights there for the 1102. We had a department head meeting that I was briefed that in the previous election, well, the line went around the building for one thing, and there were several other things that we know that we needed to be good neighbors to our assessors and treasurer. So we had a meeting. We talked about what were some things that we could do to move forward. What you're seeing there is a briefing by our election specialist, Sarah. And so voters can know that coming up here on May 12th, when they head to the elections, they've got over 800 well-trained poll workers, district inspectors, and precinct inspectors. Sarah conducted over 9 sessions to train all 800 people. I was able to attend, intentionally attended 8 out of 9 of those. One thing of note, of those 800, we had 300 draftees. And I know that's not well known. My second to last slide will talk to that a little bit, or maybe I'll even mention it now. One of the things we are putting in our budget is Sarah is actually a part-time worker. She works 30 hours. She gets about 40 hours worth of work done out of that, but nonetheless, she's got some ideas and just needs some time to implement some things to ideally get more folks that are volunteers and not voluntold. I don't think it takes much for anyone to realize that having folks do such important work that we do, it definitely behooves us to have volunteers versus draftees. We're not the only ones that draft to meet those numbers. Douglas County does that as well, but just know that a lot of the initiatives that we're doing and that I'm doing in the office is in the vein of doing what we can before 2028 to get that number down to at least half, if not even more. Speaking of early voting, you can see some of our numbers. We've had to date over 5,700 early voters. We had, for comparison, by the end of the early voting period, which will end on May 11th, we had over right at 7,000. So we are on track to hit, if not exceed that number. That's over a 32% increase from the primary of 2024. One of the other initiatives that we've done is we've gone to flat ballots or unfolded ballots during that early period of time versus the folded ones that you mail out. The idea being our counting machines, one of the impediments that I understand I wasn't here that we had was the jamming of the machines. So to the extent that we can minimize those ballots that are folded, we could hopefully reduce that time that it takes to go through those ballots. Additionally, we had our servicing company, ES&S, pre-fold the ballots that we do need to have sent out to constituents. And so we're excited to see how that operates, impacts our operations in county. Wrapping up the final 2 slides, we do have a few headwinds. I've alluded to one of them earlier. You know, the 2028 presidential election is coming. It'll be here before we know it. I've already identified that the space that we have is rather tight. I will tell you, it's not just an inconvenience, though. It's to the point of impacting operations, because the picture that you see there, the bottom 2 pictures, that's our counting room. And normally that operates also as our safe room. But during this time, these last 10 days, and we have statutes that mandate the timing of when we need to do things and when we get our budgets, we have to, we rely on facilities to move our ballot. We have 81 precincts, as you may or may not know, move all the ballots into the counting room, and then our counting machines that are in a very small vault into the counting room. But we have to do that within the span of a day, because we have to mock elections that need to get done according to statute. And so, anyway, that's just one of the things that our team handles phenomenally, but it's certainly something with the rate of growth of the county. It's very likely that, well, for sure, within the next census, that the county's going to be growing. We're going to go from 81 precincts to more, and our vault space right now is fully tapped. Also, we have a software upgrade that's coming from our elections partner, ES&S. It's going to help make things more efficient. However, it will certainly entail more training hours for those 800 poll workers to make sure that everybody's up to speed. And finally, the way forward, here's some key dates that we have coming up. Most pressing is tomorrow. We're fortunate enough to have the Secretary of State Ebnen come visit our office. He's visiting, I think, 5 or 6 counties to observe the elections counting procedures. And there may be some media, from what I understand, coming with them as well. We're excited to demonstrate our process to help voters know that and feel confident that we've got safe and secure elections here in Sarpy County. And of course, speaking of election, the 12th of May is when we will be having that countywide. Thank you for your time, and I will entertain any questions at this point.
Thanks for coming, David. Appreciate your hard work. You dove in head first. I've seen you at all kinds of things, including all the NACO meetings, so we appreciate all you do. You have a great team. Michelle's always great. Her institutional knowledge and hard work are helpful, I'm sure. And you have 2 Angies on your team, so I'm giving you kudos for that.
Boom.
I'd also like to thank you for being here. I've heard nothing but positive comments since you've arrived at the office. And really appreciate everything you're doing in the office to ensure the integrity of our voting system. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
DJ, I have one question about the early ballots that are coming in now. I think you said 7,000 total so far?
That's the number that we're heading towards. We're at 5,700 currently.
Okay, so, a couple years ago, we invested some money in video surveillance of drop boxes. How many are those getting used extensively?
They certainly are being used, the drop boxes. I don't have the specific numbers per day that they're going, but they're checked every day. And one of the things I can tell you I'm just being real, I don't want to put any shade on our other federal partners as far as the mail service, but one of the things we're advising folks to do is to, in fact, utilize those drop boxes for those, and that seems to be happening very regularly.
So there used to be it's been a while, so I apologize, but on election day at 8 o'clock, the polls in Nebraska close, and the first drop occurs simultaneously, correct?
Yes, sir.
So is that still the plan? It's like the 50th percentile at 8 o'clock?
That is still the plan, and in order to utilize, to meet that plan, we are statutorily allowed to start counting the night prior or the day prior. So we'll get those early votes counted Monday evening up through most of the day or however long it takes on the 12th, but we can't post them until 8 o'clock, right. But that allows us to get ahead.
So we'll be on a 45-minute schedule then?
Yes, sir.
8:45, 9:30, smoke a lucky and declare victory? Is that what
We're shooting for 3 of those max. Yes, sir.
It's all good, DJ.
Yes,
I appreciate you coming up here and letting us know. It's great to hear the feedback, but we also need to be made aware of the challenges that you face. I know you have a great staff, but you don't have a big staff.
No.
So how do we leverage technology, whether it be with fancy voting machines or whatever, that will allow you to be more effective and make sure our elections are fair and safe and beyond reproach. So
100%.
All right,
Sir.
thank you, DJ.
Sir, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. We have, did you want to make that?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve an amended consent agenda, removing items 6.4, 6.7, and 6.10. which was just removing them. I think we have to table them after we approve the consent agenda, right?
Okay. Okay, so we have an amended motion by Commissioner Burmeister. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mixon. Any further discussion? Please vote.
And I'll
Motion
make them.
passed.
Sorry.
Then I'll make a motion on 6.4 and 6.7 to table those to May 19th.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to table 6.4 and 6.7 to, what was the date?
May 19th.
May 19th, and a second by Commissioner Klug. Any further discussion? Please vote.
And then I'll make a motion to table 6.10. Did Nicole need a week? Was that what I didn't read what that.
On that one, we just need no action taken. We're gonna put a different resolution on, some of the names are incorrect. So we were just gonna start over. So
Okay,
just no action.
just no action. Okay.
No action? So,
So we don't need to vote or anything. We just skip over it, right? So 7.1, I think, is where you are.
we're here? Okay, good. I'm caught up. Okay, item 7.1 is Resolution 83. It's a grant application agreements. There's 7 of them for the Sarpy County Tourism United Grant Program for Midwest Freedom Cup, Evolution International, O-Town Showdown 7 versus 7 tournament, Bruin Volleyball Tournament, 58th Annual International Snowmobile Congress, the Grass Tourney 2, the Platte Valley Kennel Club AKC All Breed, NOHS, and Specialty Show. Beth Garber,
Thank you.
Deputy County Administrator. Is that right?
No, that's
No,
Scott Bovich.
Assistant County Administrator.
Yep, with
I
Tom
take the
Dargy.
promotion when I give it
Yeah.
to you, you know? So it's okay.
For several years, the Tourism Department has held a grant application process to support local organizations and events for our community. In 2025, Alex and our Tourism Department revised this application to make it a sports and marketing program to support those organizations and sports tournaments. The right before you are 7 applications totaling $111,150. These have been reviewed by the Visitors Committee for recommended approval. They include a few youth sports tournaments, a national conference, as you said, an AKC Kennel Club, a wide variety of tournaments. And when we're reviewing these and when the Visitors Committee are reviewing these, we're specifically looking at hotel room nights that are spent in the county and economic impact. You can tell by 2 of the first 2, Midwest Cup and Evolution Invitational, the estimated spend of those 2 events alone was over $1.3 million. So those are we try to collect those details. We're going to become better at collecting those details with this new grant program, along with the number of hotel room nights spent by each program.
Questions for Beth?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Klug, a second by Commissioner Mixon. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay, agenda item 7.2 is Resolution 100, Professional Service Agreement with Clark and Anderson for the Sarpy County Building Master Plan, the amount of $175,605. Beth Garber, Assistant County Administrator.
Thank you. The purchasing department received 6 proposals for the building master plan for Sarpy County. After evaluation and interviews, it's recommended Clark and Anderson for the $175,605. This is thanks to the strategic vision and leadership of the board. The plan will provide the board with a roadmap for facilities and space over the next 20 years by defining programming trends, preparing conceptual plans, and providing an accurate inventory of county space.
Questions for Beth?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Klug and a second by Commissioner Burmeister to approve Resolution 100. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay, it's 4:08 PM. I'm going to put the County Board of Commissioners meeting in recess, and we'll pick it back up following the Board of Corrections meeting. So we're going to reset for Board of Corrections.
Okay. I'm ready.
Ready? Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the Board of Corrections meeting. It's April 28th. It's 4:09 PM. Copy of Nebraska Open Meeting Acts on the north wall of the boardroom. We have all 5 commissioners and our county administrator present. Anybody from the public want to address the Board of Corrections? Okay, the first item then will be 4.1, which is the minutes from our March 10th, 2026 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burmeister, second by Commissioner Klug. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay, agenda item 4.2, I'll make a motion to table this agenda item to our June 2nd meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion by Kelly, second by Commissioner Burmeister. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay, there's no executive session required, and all agenda items have been addressed as published, and the Board of Corrections is adjourned. And we're going to jump back to the county board meeting, which we went into recess at 4:09. It's now 4:10. And we'll pick up at item 7.3, which is Sarpy County Correctional Center Jail Tour. So, off we go. Okay, went into recess at 4:10. I've got 4:33. We'll get back into the agenda. Brings us to item 8.1.
For the protection of the public interest, I move that we go into executive session to discuss potential litigation and litigation.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to go into executive session. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay, it's 4:33. We're going to be going into executive session where our discussion will be restricted to potential litigation and litigation.
Man, this is.
All right, it is now 5:02 at 4:33. We went into executive session where our discussion was limited to potential litigation and litigation. Need a motion to return to the regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mixon, second by Commissioner Klug. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay, all agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Commissioners is adjourned.